Yes, we are now live. They got to watch Liam come over and say hi to you. But I'm not. All right, go ahead. Go find service.
Liam!
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. But no, you can't. Don't put the TV on, though. Keep it quiet, okay?
live TV,
Still live.
Tommy. I fucking
Yes.
love it.
Yeah. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. So, so Joe and I go way, way back to when he was an evil tea partier, and I feel bad because now that you're a good guy, this is the first time. First of all, the first time we're ever speaking, but also we haven't really been in touch since those bad old days.
Wait, have you
Too
and
much.
I never spoken before?
I don't think so. I think this is our first time. Unless maybe we did a Dean Obadala or something together. I don't remember ever talking to you before.
No, but I
I mean, I
remember.
feel like I have because I used to do clips of you all the time on cable, and we had this little running joke because Joe has this habit of saying people's names over and over again, which I think is really good. It, I feel like it's like a technique to get people to like you. Like, it's like you're paying attention to them. You make them feel like they're really
there,
important. Joe.
there was that one time, Tommy. I do that. There was that one time when Ashley Banfield was interviewing me, and I kept saying Ashley, 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 Ashley. I wonder, Tommy. By the way, just one technicality. I wonder if we've connected. Sometimes Substack is fucked up, but like we're only showing one listener right now. I'm wondering.
No, this is right now. You are all of my interviews are paywall.
Oh,
So
okay.
what I'll do is
Well,
I'll probably use a bunch of these clips at the other place where I work at. So,
awesome, awesome.
uh, but the
But
nice thing about
you,
this is it's a good value for my members, but also it protects the people I interview from getting like all those people that clip stuff and they chop it out of context.
yeah,
So nobody's
you,
gonna want to pay to come
but
and take Joe Walsh out of context. Okay.
you and I, brother, back in the day, Tommy, you would light
Mhm,
into me. I
mhm.
deserved a lot of it, but I've always loved the shit you wrote. I've always loved what you write, even if I don't
This
agree
is
with
true.
it.
This is true, and I do want to say, and I always I've thought a lot about this because back in the day too, like it's really hard to get along with somebody from the other side, especially when. And I know that you've already owned this, so I don't feel bad about saying it, but there was a lot of like racism involved, and like if I say I like a guy who's seen as racist, then I'm a bad guy. So, but I think I hope I conveyed that. I always had a feeling about you that I have that I've. It's very rare that you had a fundamental sense of decency, and that there's something had just sent you in the wrong direction, but that you were at a heart a decent guy, and history has proved me out. The other guy I feel that way about, and you can tell me if you agree, is and he hasn't switched over yet, but I feel like Brian Kilmeade is very much like you in that way, in that every once in a while he'll say something and you're like, yes, you get it. And yet you don't. And I feel like it wouldn't take a lot. The problem is I think he's so steeped. Well, tell me what you think about that.
I think you're right, Tommy. Like there's something uncomfortable. Like Kilmeade looks uncomfortable often when he says the shit he says.
Yeah.
Now, my problem back in the day was I was a true believer in what I thought, but I was also like a jackass. And so like I would go after people because I'd get way over my skis in the shit I believed.
Yeah.
Um, Tommy, it's weird. I still call myself a Tea Partier, even though I'm a Democrat. The Tea Party went MAGA, and I just couldn't fucking get on that train.
Yeah, I find that, well, and this is the thing. As weird as that may seem to somebody who was in the movement, to us on the outside, it's like, it just sort of shows where most of them were the entire time,
Yeah.
and that it was never really about the shit that they said it was about. But I always got this sort of like an honest feeling from you. And so I'm really glad to, well, I mean, I want to say welcome. I am the kind of person who is very skeptical of converts. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
still skeptical of Elizabeth Warren. Okay. And she has been a Democrat since like 1997 or so. So it's hard to win me over, but so far you, and I think, Jennifer Rubin is somebody who although I'm still like, I'll still side eye, like I'm still waiting for them to say dumb shit. But like, I think you, Jennifer Rubin, Nicole Wallace has convinced me pretty
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, but I guess it's enough. But I did want to ask you about some of the back in the day stuff. But I
By
wanted to
the
get
way,
out of
by
the
the
way the
way,
first.
by the way,
Yeah.
Tommy, and by the way, you have the fucking right to ask me about anything back in the day. So don't
Okay.
hesitate to ask me. You make a really good point, and I would just add someone like you. I say this all the time. You should always keep a side eye look at me and any of the rest of us, um, because even though I feel like I've earned my pay now, even though I don't get paid. It's been a long fucking 8 years from the moment I turned against Trump. And I didn't do this for the money because all the money's on the MAGA side. But no,
Mhm.
you got it. You should remain skeptical, I think, of all of us.
Yeah, well, did you know that Cenk Uygur is a convert too? Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, and there's a guy who I love dearly, and I've known we go way back. I go back further with him than you even.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, you see what's happening with him these days. I mean, he hasn't
Oh,
gone MAGA, but he's sort of out of
he's
pocket. He's put off the
he's
reservation.
I mean, he's holding hands with Tucker Carlson. That tells you all
Yeah.
you gotta know. Tommy, the last thing I'll say, the weird thing about me is, of all the converts and the never Trumpers, I don't know of anybody else who comes from the fucking heart of the Tea Party MAGA base like I do. Bill Kristol, all the rest of these guys, they were just
Mhm.
good establishment Republicans. I come from the bowels of the Tea Party and MAGA, so it's been a long road.
Yeah, that's true. That you're sort of a different kind of, and it's a real shame, I think, because people. I know that there's a tendency to dismiss never Trumpers as like opportunistic, or maybe they were never really MAGA at all. But having observed you over the years, and I observed you a lot. There's a lot of Mediaite articles about Joe Walsh,
Yes, yes,
and you were as just like dyed in the wool Tea Party, anti-Obama, and I
yeah,
want to talk about the problematic stuff, but as
yeah.
it gets, and I, it's which is why I'm glad I have you here, because I think your person, that's the kind of thing that you could be like a sort of a Rosetta Stone for people who are situated as you are, because I took a little bit of look at your bio. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but all right, let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your some current events type stuff, and then we'll rewind back. This is like an interview series. I don't. It's not like a
Take
show.
it easy. This is you,
So,
man.
all
I'm
right,
following
good.
you.
All right. And by the way, let's shout out to Jim Acosta and thank him for first for he gives you're on his show on the regular.
A bunch, yeah.
Let's do this too. What have you got going on? Let's promote whatever you've got going on.
No,
I,
really, Tommy, forget that. Really simple. I
yeah.
got a
All right.
daily podcast. I'm on Substack. By the way, and anybody who's subscribed to Tommy, subscribe to me. Anybody who's going to listen to this,
Yeah.
subscribe to me, subscribe to Tommy.
Yeah.
Even though you and I may differ politically on a bunch of stuff, you're genuine in what you believe, and I've always believed that.
I appreciate that, Joe. I'm gonna try and call you Joe more.
Call me,
All right.
Tommy.
Yeah.
You can call me whatever the fuck you want.
All right. All right. All right. So listen. I again haven't been paying as much attention as I should be, but so I don't know where you are on this whole Iran thing. I know that you used to be a very strong supporter of Israel. I consider myself the same way, but I'm not like one of these blind followers. And I mean, no, I think it's okay to criticize the government. And but where are you on this whole thing?
I'm in a weird fucking place, Tommy. I am a proud Zionist. I'm off the charts pro Israel still. I oppose Trump's illegal war and I oppose Netanyahu with every bone in my body. So I feel like I get shit from the left and the right in where I
Yeah.
stand on that right now.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough to call yourself a Zionist these days. It's tough to split the you know,
What
what not
and
split the baby, you know what I
it
mean?
pisses me off, Tommy, like, Newsom, Gavin Newsom, what the fuck? He was interviewed by, on Politico yesterday, and he was asked point blank, "Are you a Zionist?" And he wouldn't say yes or no.
I
To
saw
me,
that.
that's a simple answer, yes or no, and here's why. I think I worry. I've only been a Democrat 10 months. Tommy, I did not become a Democrat because of policy. You know that. I became a
Right.
Democrat because I believe my former party's a fucking threat to everything we believe in this country. I want to help Democrats defeat my former party. But I worry about this issue of Israel because I'm seeing the big Democratic names kind of continue to go where I worry the base of the party is, which is almost anti Israel.
Yeah, well, you know, it is a problem to me too because I feel like I'm a moderate on Israel, or the way it used to be anyway.
Yeah.
In other words, I believe in Israel's right to exist. I believe that you know, I think the two-state solution is the way to go, and I also do believe that you know that there's a very strong national and world interest in Israel's security.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, but then all of a sudden that's become like this evil position because then that means that you're supportive of everything that Bibi Netanyahu does. There's no like middle ground. Um, and so I do think. Look, I saw the Gavin Newsom thing. I thought his answer was okay. I think the problem with the Zionist label is, uh, you know, it gets mistaken for, and I don't think it's really a mistake. Even I think a person could be forgiven for thinking that means you agree with whatever Bibi Netanyahu is doing because he's the maximalist Zionist.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I agree with that. But I think like voters, especially on the Democratic side, they want fucking authenticity. And I think Gavin Newsom's trying to be too fucking cute. Yes or no, I'm a Zionist. Here's what that means to me. And just put it out there. And if people disagree, they disagree. But he seemed to be afraid, Tommy, and others have done this, afraid to even say that term out loud. I just think that's bullshit.
Okay. I take your point.
But your broader point, this is an illegal war. Donald Trump had no fucking authority to go to war. And to me, it stops and starts there. I think it's a stupid war. I think Bibi talked him into it. He has no idea what he's doing. I don't know how we get out of it.
Yeah. What did you think about this? The shit that went down over the weekend. You know, you had him saying, "Oh, you got 48 hours," and then he's like, "Oh, wait, there's talks. Now you've got 5 more days." And then that shit yesterday about how they gave him a beautiful gift. Unpack all that for me. What's your take?
Well, no, this is your business. You're smarter than I am at this.
Hmm.
I'm like, Tommy, I used to go on CNN and MSN now a lot more than I do now. And one of the
Okay.
reasons the producers told me, Joe, you're out there in what you say. Like if I were on with Jake Tapper right now and he asked me that question, I'd say, Jake, what the fuck? Trump lies every time he opens his mouth. Why are we analyzing what he said? Everything he says is a lie. I think he's a madman, Tommy. I think he's not only a pathological liar. I think every week he's losing it upstairs. He's quite literally, in my mind, mad, and they don't want to hear stuff like that.
Interesting. And you know what's funny is that you made a really interesting point that should be the most obvious point in the world, and yet it seems to be lost on even the best people in that business. That business being, you know, straight reporting, straight journalism. Trump does nothing but lie, and it's like we're so used to it. You know, like I see Daniel Dale come on, and he's like, "Well, you know, Trump repeated a whole bunch of stuff that he always repeats," and so he doesn't. He just skips over that shit, and it's like the guy always lies. And so when they are taking in information, and then they're like, "Well, what do you mean you got a big beautiful like?" No, he's obviously making it up.
So Tommy, that's so fucking spot on. And this is what I said to the CNN and the MSN Now producers, because they want a Republican talking head and a Democrat talking head analyzing what Trump said. And I often find myself saying, but Anderson, hold on. Why are we analyzing it? He's lying. And you're right. We've normalized that, but these shows and the corporate media has an interest in trying to normalize him so you can kind of analyze what he said. I have a hard time with that. I think he's a
Yeah.
fucking fascist. I think he's a Russian asset. And I say stuff like that on CNN, and it just, they don't want to hear that. I get it.
Yeah. So what's going on with that? Did you go on CNN? I know that you were a contributor. You were a paid contributor for a while,
No,
right?
no, never, never, never,
Oh
never.
no?
Yeah,
Oh, I thought you
never
were.
been
Oh,
paid. Yeah, never been paid because I always wanted
cheapskates.
to go everywhere. Tommy, especially through the 24 election, I was on probably 3, 4 times a week. Maybe
Yeah, you're
now
on a
it's
lot.
once or maybe twice every couple weeks. And I've been told by a lot of the producers at both stations that, Joe, we love what you say, but we've got to have kind of a normal back and forth between the Democrat and Republican, treating Trump like a president. And I said, I get that, but he's, if you're analyzing why he was nice to Putin, I'm going to say, Jake, because I think he's a Russian asset or a Putin puppet. And they don't want to hear kind of, as they've told me, out their statements like that. They'd rather analyze the merits of what Trump said. I have a hard time with that.
Yeah, okay. I'm sort of I watch a lot of CNN, and I didn't realize that you've been on there recently, which means I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I would love to see you on CNN. So, listen, let's delve into that because I didn't realize that you were still going on there. So, uh, what's his face? Miles Taylor.
Yeah.
He said that he called out Scott Jennings, right on Twitter and said, "This is a guy who mocks Trump during the commercial breaks and then comes on and does these defenses." Can you corroborate that, or do you know anything about that? Have you been
I,
on with
I,
that guy?
uh, uh, prior to the election, there's no fucking way I'll ever probably be invited to sit on a set with him because he's a fucking crybaby. And I have no doubt that he's probably told Abby's producers, don't put Joe Walsh at the table. I think so I can corroborate generally with what Miles said. Scott Jennings is a fraud. He's an actor playing a role. Back in the day, Tommy, when I was evil Mr. Tea Partier, he was Mr. Rhino establishment Republican.
Yeah,
Mitch
yeah,
McConnell and he found out that he can make a shitload of money by being a MAGA tough guy. And
okay.
that's what he's done. He plays a role. He doesn't believe what he says. He lies. He plays a role. And I think it's just disappointing for CNN and folks to give him that platform because he doesn't believe what he says. I'd rather have true believer MAGA folk on those shows than somebody
Yeah.
like Jennings.
Well, I mean, yeah, if it was if it was you arguing with a guy like you, that would be something to see, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
So,
Tommy, it bums me out that, and I'm assuming you've watched Jennings on that show. He just,
mhm,
again, he's
yeah.
paid to play a role, and he looks at the camera and he smirks and he says crazy shit. But there are no Democratic folk at the table who like get into his face and call him out. I think he's a protected asset of CNN's.
Well, I've seen a few times. I mean, I've seen Abby go at him, a few ti not always, but there have
Not
been
always.
times, and I think one time, but it was on Twitter, not on the air, where she basically just called him a liar, and, I just feel like I don't know, what's the chemistry like there? I mean, you said you haven't been on with him since before the election?
Yeah, I don't think the chemistry is great. I think it can get tense. I think it can get tense. And look, Tommy, I adore Abby Phillip. I think she's wonderful. I don't think it's her call that Jennings has to be on that show 3 times a week. I think
Right,
CNN, he brings a lot of eyeballs because he's playing
yeah.
this role of MAGA tough guy. But he's one of the most thin-skinned people, Tommy, I've ever met. He's a big crybaby. He doesn't like it when anybody says anything mean about him. Others will tell you the same thing. And I have no doubt he's got say in who can and cannot sit at that table.
Huh. So, like, you know what you should do is you should call him out and like challenge him to a debate on like I couldn't do it, but like I'm Jim. Jim could do it.
Acosta,
Have him
there's
come on. Have
Acosta
him
would
come
love
on.
that. Yeah,
So
I'd love that,
am I
Tommy.
hearing you? Are you saying that? Are you calling him out?
Scott Jennings. Oh,
Yes.
he's an utter fraud who's an actor who plays a role. He doesn't believe the
So
shit he says.
so are you challenging him right now to come on the Jim Acosta show and debate you? Is that what you're doing?
Hey, Jim Acosta, if you're going to listen to this, man, host it. I would love nothing fucking better than to sit at a table with him and call him out for what he is, respectfully.
All right. Well, I would pay to see that.
Absolutely. Damn
Yeah.
right, Tom. Damn
That'd be
right.
some good subscriptions for all of us, right?
I just
All
like
right. So
you know the business better than I do.
yeah.
I have conversations with MAGA true believers, and I respect them. But not a guy like this who deep down in private believes Donald Trump is bad for the country, he's a dangerous piece of shit. But Scott realized I can make money saying the exact opposite.
Yeah. All right. I don't want to get you disinvited from CNN ever again, but like, what else are you? I mean, you know, I guess you're still there on the semi-regular. What else are you hearing around there about this merger and the Ellisons and all that? Is that something that you're right in on by?
I've all I've heard from folks is concern and fear,
Yeah.
and people thinking that when this plays out, my days there may be numbered. I think there's that feeling that something bad might be coming from everybody I've talked to.
And that's the talent that you interact with and the behind the scenes and all that.
Talent and behind the scenes, yeah,
Yeah. All right. Wow.
and utter unknown, and they're afraid of it.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So let's because I love the fact that you really are like an OG MAGA guy because you didn't split with Trump until what 2019, right?
Summer of 18, formally,
18.
right after Helsinki.
So you were still with him after the I can't remember the timeline for all these things, but we were definitely still with him after the Mexicans are rapists, and um, I guess
Oh,
what about when did you say the shithole countries thing?
I'm
Was
gonna
that
think like sometime in 17,
yeah okay? So you were
sometime
still
in
with him after
17.
that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so okay, explain that to me, like you because well. I read somewhere that you said that you copped to having said some racist things about Obama, but you yourself weren't a racist. So make sense to people that you were still with Trump after shithole countries, uh, after the Mexican rapists, after the Muslim ban, all that.
Um, Broadly speaking, I supported Trump in 16. Tommy, back then, I was on the radio all over the country. I was on Fox News every day. I was a disruptive politician. Everybody who listened to me and voted for me listened to Trump and voted for Trump. So I understood why my people wanted him. I wanted disruption in DC. I did not pay enough attention to who he was. And that's on me.
Okay.
I fucked up. And then right after he got elected, I started paying attention to him. And Tommy, I started going south every week and every month. And my management, my radio syndicators would beat me over the head because I'd begin to criticize him. I would do the good Trump, bad Trump thing. And then eventually that didn't feel right. Eventually in 2017, I realized he was an evil disruptor. And I realized that sometime in the future, I was going to throw away everything I had and I was going to have to turn against him. Um, and my final straw was Helsinki. But like when you say all the shit he said up until then, I either ignored it, I looked the other way. Some of it I might have laughed at. Some of it I might agreed with some of it. but or some of it I might have just called out and said that was a horrible thing to say. Like when the shit he said about John McCain, the shit he said about the New York Times reporter. And I would say, come on, fucking be an adult, right, man? Come on. I do the good Trump, bad Trump thing, but Tommy, that didn't last long. Now, the last thing I'll say is I was on with Nicole Wallace when I primaried Trump, and I said, I was on with John Heilman. John Heilman said, Joe Walsh, you're a racist. And I said, well, John, I think we're all a little bit racist. Tommy, I have always fucking pushed the envelope on race. I'm obsessed with the issue of race.
You broke on me there. I don't know what's going on with this.
Now you got me?
That again, because you're freezing up on me now.
How's this?
Oh, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You know what? Let's do this. Let me move in the other room and see if that's better.
Yeah,
no, wait, not. I mean, wait till Ray gets home. Yeah. Okay. I think my internet is just shit in the bed here.
Tommy Christopher's internet connection is bad. That's what it's saying on mine.
All right. Let's try this. Now I'm sitting down. How's that? Is that better?
Oh my God, Tommy. And that's a great shot behind you.
I know, isn't it? Yeah, it's a little backlit, but
the final point I was making, can you hear me?
Yeah, you said John Heilman called you a racist, and then that was
and I said, John, I think we're all a little bit racist. And I got tagged with that because, Tommy, I've always been obsessed with the issue of race. I've always been pissed off that people are afraid to talk about race. So I pushed the envelope on race. And sometimes I stepped into some shit. No doubt about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's fair. I think that everybody, I mean, everybody has some sort of thing in their upbringing that was, I think I know what you mean. I think it matters more because white people are in a position of privilege, but I think every human being is exposed to, bigotry against people with differences. So
yeah, agree.
And you have to fight that. And you have to fight. I think, what's his name? Tim, what's that guy's name? Tim something or other, who's always talking about the anti-racism guy.
Oh, yeah.
His name I can't think of.
Yeah,
so what he says, and there's a whole school of thought that you can't just not be racist. You have to be anti-racist. And it's just something that you have to fight, because when I was a kid, I was exposed to people. I grew up in an all-black town, and there were people I was exposed to who hated white people, and then I was later exposed to people who hated black people. And you hear all these things, and even if you don't believe them, there's like a little voice that gets stuck in your head. And then when you see something, you're like, oh yeah, that's confirming this thing that this jerk off said.
Yeah. And Tommy, the other thing is context, and I know you remember this. I mean, I went to Congress with Obama in the White House, and I remember back then, even criticizing Barack, you'd get tagged with something. The left, and I would naturally recoil against that. Like I'd say, Obama said something about Social Security. I said, Barack Obama, you're lying. And I'd get called a racist for that. And I get it. I understand it now. But there was a kind of a protection of him as our first black president. Yep. And I am a free speech absolutist. And I felt back then like there was an effort to kind of tamp down critical speech of him, and I probably overreacted to that as well.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think there's probably something in the middle. I think it was probably I think it was probably rare that there wasn't some truth to the accusation, but also that I don't know. I mean, I can sort of see, like, well, I tell this story a lot. My old man was, we're an Irish American family, and liberals, Democrats going way back, and him and my mom, they owned a store in Plainfield when the riots happened, and the fact that they had good politics did not stop their business from being destroyed in the riot, and it embittered him, And it's sort of hard to explain to a guy in that position. Well, how embittered do you think the people who have undergone 400 years of this bullshit, how embittered are they? It's like,
That's
it's
a
hard to
great
explain
point.
that.
No, Tommy, that's a great
Yeah.
point. My old man was born in 32, Irish guy. And until he died, he always had a sign in his office, Irish need not apply, which is when he went for his first job at 16 years old.
Yeah.
But this was an area of mine where I needed to open my eyes and listen. Because if you and I are having this conversation 8 years ago, and you say to me, Black Lives Matter, I would have said, fuck you, Tommy, all lives matter. That
Yeah.
was my natural reaction as a white guy. And then I spent a
Right.
couple years talking to Black Americans, and I understood the importance of that phrase, Black Lives Matter. But that only happened because I opened my eyes and listened.
Yeah. This is the thing. And I don't want to beat up on a guy who's being a good guy now,
No, beat up
but I
on me,
found
Tommy.
that I found that there a big difference between Republicans and or conservatives or whatever, and liberals or Democrats, for the most part, like except for your converts, is this. It seems like conservatives, and I always think of Chris Christie when I talk about this,
Yeah.
have to know somebody. They have to know somebody and be personally affected by something before they fucking get it. So, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I grew up just listening to conservatives just shit all over drug addicts and crack addicts and junkies. And then, I saw Chris Christie doing a campaign event talking about how his friend got addicted to opioids. And, I mean, like, he may as well have been saying, wow, it can even happen to white people, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it pissed me off so much. I was like, I'm really glad to hear you have empathy now. But where the fuck were you for the past, like since the early 80s with the crack shit? And all, like, how many people's lives are ruined because these people don't have any fucking empathy?
Agreed, Tommy. That's
So,
spot on.
but I feel like that's a trait. It's a trait.
Yeah.
It's a trait that goes for LGBTQ people. And look, I think I understand it too, because I think everybody has they have something that they hang on one second.
Yeah.
They have what, stay in the house. Sorry about that. I'm back.
Oh, shut. Take care of
That's
Liam,
live
Tommy.
TV. No, I heard, yeah.
Don't worry
I heard the
about
door
it.
open, but he's cool. He's being good.
Liam comes
Yeah.
first.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
Tommy, I
got
I
all
think you're
kinds of.
right. Tommy, you're right. Like, I know a lot of conservative pals who fucking all these genders, all these transgenders, and then they wake
Right.
up to the issue if, oh my God, their son or their daughter or their niece or their nephew is a transgender American. Then all of a sudden their eyes are open.
Yeah, and that's something, I feel like Democrats have really failed at knowing how to talk about the trans issue. And
Yeah.
that's exactly the issue that I was gonna talk about. I was pretty steeped in a lot of the marginalized communities my whole life, but the trans thing, I didn't find out. Well, probably earlier than most people. I didn't find out about the trans thing until probably the late '90s or early aughts.
Yeah.
Late '90s, and
Yeah.
I didn't get it at all. I didn't understand it at all. And before that, obviously, and I was like everybody else. I didn't think there was anything wrong with saying tranny or making jokes like. But then then I got to know somebody. I have a brother who's trans, and it was hard. Like you would mess up the pronouns, and he'd yell at you, and then you'd be like, "Well, come on, I've known you since we were kids." And you don't. But he explained it to me. And he was like, "Okay, to you, it was a slip up,
Yeah. Yeah.
But to me, that's shit that I hear 1,000 times a day from people who aren't slipping up, who are trying to be, who are trying to be passive aggressive, or trying to be shitty. And so, I lose patience with that. And so I got that. And then yet the thing that really stuck with me was, I did a report on some trans people who were trying to lobby Congress. And I found out that trans people had like something ridiculous, like like a 10 times greater suicide rate.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, it doesn't matter if I understand it. It doesn't matter if I get it. I just have to like get over it because I don't want people who don't deserve. I mean, nobody deserves it. Nobody deserves to
No,
be tormented to death. So
no.
whatever my problem is, that's my fucking problem. You know?
I've always been Tommy, even though like, and I don't like the term conservative to me, just to describe me.
Yeah.
I've always been fairly libertarian. And on the gender issue, man, I've always been live your life, whatever. But Tommy, I was a culture war practitioner on right wing radio for years. And I'd
Yeah.
fucking make fun. I'd make fun of the 64 genders and all of that shit. I did too much of that, and I'm not proud of that. And again, then I opened my eyes and stopped doing that shit. But the right, because I come from the right, they do a great job of fighting this culture war, the gender war. And
Yeah.
Democrats, my new fucking party, do a lousy job. They're afraid to fight on this issue.
Right.
They don't.
Yes.
They,
Thank you.
they're afraid to fight. They don't know how to. I mean, Trump spends a gazillion dollars beating Kamala up on the issue. Kamala ignores it. What I try to tell my new fucking party is fight these bastards on the culture war.
Yes.
I come from the right. Fight them. Most of America is with you, especially on the gender issue. Democrats
Yeah.
got to stop being afraid.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's you exactly right, and thank you because I've talked to this to a few people because the things, and I don't want to name any names, but I've been disappointed in what I've gotten because the Democratic response is always shit like, well, there's like 0.1% of people that this even
No.
affects, and I'm like, that's no way to that's no way to fight this.
No.
Don't call it a distraction. You have to take it head on. Okay, you have to say, look, first of all, politicians don't have shit to do with what is and isn't allowed to happen in a competition. These are private leagues and local schools and all that. That's not our fucking job, okay? Uh, but we don't need to stick our oars in the water in the same direction as people who are saying shit like tranny and biological male and all this other shit and causing hatred for these people.
Tommy, back in my Republican days, we would all laugh at how Democrats were
Yeah.
afraid to fight us on the culture issues, on God, gays,
Yes.
guns, genders. We would laugh about it. And that's why the right pounces. And Democrats
Yes.
shouldn't cede that turf. Fucking fire right back at them. And I think most
Yeah,
Americans would be with him.
I don't know where you were when this happened, but Joseph Robinette Biden people got all kinds of mad at him because he got out ahead of Obama on gay marriage.
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, Obama, and I took shit for this too. Obama was a big disappointment to me when he started saying shit like, well, we don't want to have he kept making a states' rights argument for not having a marriage amendment. And I'm like, no, dude. Okay. No, states' rights isn't the thing that we want to talk about, you know?
He was
Obama
was a supremely cautious politician.
Yeah. No, and I get that. I understand that about him.
But you're right. Look, Tommy, I think most Americans, and I say this as a right-wing culture war warrior, I think most Americans are with Democrats on these issues than Republicans. I mean,
yeah,
go ahead.
Except for the sports thing, yeah.
Well,
like I said, the sports thing is irrelevant.
Well, but Tommy, you got to address it. Like, to me, the common sense position is live your life, be who you want to be, no discrimination against you. You can serve in the military, live your life.
Yes.
When it comes to sports, athletic competition, we just have to make sure the competition is fair. Period. However that's done, best done.
And that was such a beautiful, simple way of saying it.
And by the way, Tommy, when it comes to fucking bathrooms and locker rooms, we just need to respect the privacy of everybody involved. End of story.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Democrats are afraid to talk this way.
No, exactly. And they never like turn it back around. If you have a trans woman you know, who presents very feminine, and you're going to force that person to go into a men's room. Is she supposed to feel safe?
No, no.
I mean,
And
is
exactly
she
right.
safe? No, of course not.
No, she's not safe. And just like Tommy, the 16 or 17-year-old cisgender woman in high school may
Hmm.
not feel safe having a transgender woman in the same locker room. Fine. Work out a
Hmm.
solution to where both the privacy rights of both are met. End of story.
Yeah. Yeah, let everybody feel safe. I
Let
actually
everybody.
I actually always thought that well, locker rooms were kind of a weird thing anyway, you know?
I
Mm,
agree. And when you and I were younger, it wasn't an issue at all. Um, Part of the
yeah,
problem, Tommy, is my biggest beef with my new fucking party is they don't talk like regular people. So many
mhm.
Democrats talk like they're overly consulted and they've got a pollster in their head. Just fucking tell me what you believe, please.
Amen, dude. If I hear one more Democrat say working families, I'm gonna shit my pants,
Thank you.
okay? That is not a
Thank
fucking
you.
thing that people say.
Thank
Nobody
you.
says that, you know?
No,
So I agree, and there's I swear to Christ, I don't think there's a single Democrat who doesn't say that shit.
no, God,
Uh,
no.
and this side, I think that that's part of a big part of the Trump, like, magic or whatever, you know?
Yes, yes.
Because, I think people, but this is I mean, the thing is, the shit that he does is such I don't understand how these things that, the sexual misconduct and the racism are not deal breakers, but I guess for some people, they're not, and they appreciate that he isn't careful about what he says. But, I mean, no, even if they don't like what he's saying, they're like, "Well, he's not sitting there practicing it," you know?
He's given the impression over the years that he's authentic. He says it like
Yeah,
it is. And clearly,
yeah,
consultants and pollsters don't tell him what to say. I was that way as a politician. Tommy, you asked me a question back then. I'm just going to fucking answer it. I don't care if it offends somebody. Democrats are so afraid to answer the question. That question to Newsom yesterday about Zionism, I could just see his wheels spinning like, what's the best
yeah,
needle I can thread here? Now, just tell me what you fucking believe. Just tell me.
yeah. Um, and I think, that was actually one of the things that was great about Joe Biden is that, he was a
Yeah.
lot closer to
Yeah.
that kind of a person. I mean, but this guy is such a pro. He's been in the game for so long. But, like, it's funny because before when he was running for president, I wasn't on the Biden train immediately. I was much more supportive of Kamala Harris. But
Yeah.
I would go through and do, like, these Oppo, like, research on all the candidates to try and find good content for my website, and, I went back and looked at Joe Biden speaking to the NAACP, and man, I didn't
Yeah.
realize what a deep well of affection and
Yeah.
support he had with the Black community because I had all I ever heard was about his gaffes.
Yeah.
But he would go to the NAACP and he would just speak like and, in ways that I found offensive, but were, like, real. He was like, you
Yeah.
know, um, "You guys can't focus so much on this thing because it makes people mad," you know?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I
No,
was like, "Well," I think, like, he was very, like, very practical politician, you know?
Tommy, he was Biden at his best back in the day, was a real guy. It's just a shame he was so fucking old a few years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, alright, well, so you and I haven't talked about Biden, so we might have to have a fight about this, but, um, so, um, my thing, well, you tell me tell me what you think about Biden, about him running, about him, and then I'm gonna sit here and pepper you with questions and destroy you.
Joe Biden, Tommy, became like Trump. He fucking put himself ahead of his country. There's no fucking way he should have done what he did. He After the 22 midterms, he should have said, "That's it. I'm the bridge. I'm going to have the most successful one term ever. Hey, Democrats, go at it and nominate my successor." He couldn't do that. He let his ego get in the way. And Tommy, he didn't realize that his legacy depended on him or his successor beating Trump. And he let other shit get in the way
Okay.
of that. I think it was ego.
All
I
right.
think
So
it was
now,
ego, Tommy.
all right. So now, so are you ready to be destroyed now?
Destroy me.
So that, so I mean, this is the thing. This is one of the things that really disappointed me about Kamala Harris because, I was ride or die Kamala Harris all day long.
Yeah.
Joe Biden is ride or die Kamala Harris all day long, and I cannot imagine. I've developed sort of a friendship with his son, and I can tell that there's a deep well of hurt over this. Okay, um, because I've observed and covered Joe Biden for a long time, and I think the ego thing is complete garbage, and I'll tell you why. Uh, he was in an impossible position. If he had done what you said and said, "Okay, here 2022, I'm going to vow out," um, then there was two choices. The Democrats fight it out, and then if they pick somebody, uh, he,
Mhm.
he was not going to get away with passing over Kamala Harris. Okay, and
Well,
if
he might have
you
had
know
to
what
have
I mean.
endorsed her. Yeah.
Well, I mean, an endorsement might have been enough. But even if he endorsed her, if she didn't win, and like some white person got it, or a white guy, forget about it. There would have been no black turnout. They would have felt very, very justifiably that she had been passed over. You know, that no other vice president would have been snubbed like that, and they would have had every right to be angry. And I don't think they could have overcome that. And I think Biden would know that. Joe Biden would know that. He could have resigned, and she could have been president. I don't think that would have been the way to go because I don't think she could have gotten done what he got done because there would have been such opposition to her. Okay. Um,
Well,
and
then
so his
maybe.
choices were he was left with no good choices. Okay. And, when this shit happened with the debate, first of all, I think he could have beaten Trump. If the Democrats hadn't thrown him over, I mean, here's the other thing: if he had bowed out in 22, the media would have been, "Oh, he's a lame duck. He's a lame duck. He's a lame duck." Nothing would have gotten done. They would have destroyed him every day, which they did anyway. They destroyed him every day, no matter what the fuck he did. Okay. Um, okay. So the debate thing happens, and the media turned on him. It was white hot. Okay, and it would have been hard, but if the Democrats had stuck by him, if they hadn't all turned on him, if George Clooney hadn't done what he did, I think he could have survived it. They put him out there, and he was convincing. They put him out there. Look, the guy was he was jet lagged and full of Ambien and had a bad night. Okay, and yes, he
Agree.
was old. Nobody
I
ever
agree with that.
covered up that he was old. Okay, I think he could have beaten Trump. I think he could have, or would have been close. And I think that people who were like, well, he should have, when he dropped out, he should have let there be a primary. No, there was
Not
nobody
then.
else who was polling anywhere near Trump. Kamala Harris had the best chance of beating him at that point. Okay, so all this second guessing, he was left with impossible decisions, and he got a bad break. And I think the media, I understand it. I hate when people blame the media for things, but it was ridiculous. But I also think people want to blame the media. People want to get mad at Jake Tapper. And, I think I've known Jake Tapper a long time and he doesn't like it when I say things like this, but I definitely think that he overdid it. I think calling it a cover up is dumb. Okay. It wasn't a cover up. Everybody saw Joe
Agreed.
Biden get old. He said
Agreed.
over and over again, yeah, I'm old. Okay.
Agreed. I agree with that. I
So,
agree with that.
but I don't think the media is to blame. I think if the Democrats had stuck with Joe and said, "Listen, yeah, he's old, but he's still better than. First of all, he's 10 times better than Trump on his worst day." And this is the thing. You look at the way things are now, and we can get to this too, because, um, you know, uh, how are they treating Trump? Do they all flip out and demand Trump get hounded out of office after the way he
Agreed.
acts? Go ahead.
Agreed.
First of all, tell me how badly I destroyed you, and then tell me about what you think about the way they treat Trump.
Well, I agree with a lot of what you say, and it's utterly hypocritical because Trump is more fucked up in the head than Biden was, and they don't even do anything about that. And part of the problem, Tommy, is Joe Biden presented as old, everybody understood what Biden was. Trump just presents as fucked up maniac. And so it's a weird kind of old. I'll make 2 points to you. I agree with a lot of what you said. I didn't like the pile-on after the debate. He went into that debate with jet lag and he wasn't feeling well. I get all of that. But Tommy, Joe Biden had an unbelievably successful first term, yet he was unable to communicate how successful he was. We went 4 years without a bully pulpit, and that wasn't going to get any better. And so I once the decision was made, then for Biden, like Biden decided, okay, I'm done. Then it was incumbent upon him to fucking wrap his arms around Kamala and wholeheartedly endorse her, look her in the eye and say, hey, Kamala, you got to win for both of us. You can distance yourself from me, do whatever you want, baby, but you got to win because that's how I save my legacy. Whereas if you read the reporting, Biden looked at her and said, don't you dare separate from me. Come on now.
Now, all right. Listen, first of all, none of this shit's going to get any traffic, so I should just drop it. But I'm going to still disagree with you. I'm going to still disagree with you because I'll tell you why. Number one, this bully pulpit shit, untrue. Okay. Joe Biden never shut the fuck up about how successful he was being. It was the media that was like, either they wouldn't report it or they would just like destroy him for it. Like, oh, he says that the economy's good, but people don't feel that way. Yeah, you know why they don't feel that way? Because the entire world economy was fucked up because of COVID. But we had the lowest inflation of any country in the world.
Agreed.
And yet, if he said that, it was like he murdered somebody, and he did say it, and it was like he murdered somebody. So I don't agree with you about this bully pulpit shit. I think that he got destroyed no matter what he did, and he did a pretty good job of he took listing his accomplishments.
What do you?
In fact, the media would have to. Sorry, go ahead.
What do you, Tommy? Because you're right. I've had to reanalyze. I'm harsh on Biden, so I've had to reanalyze how he was treated unfairly. I'm going to ask you that question. What do you blame Biden for in the last 2 years in the 2024 election? I mean, give me one thing you'd blame him for. Like, I don't think he communicated at all, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, listen, I think to the degree that he did it a lot. He could have done it more. Yes. And he sometimes did that thing, the Democrat, he did it less than Obama did though, where every time he says something good, he apologizes. Oh, I know we've got a lot more to do. He didn't do that much, but he did it a little bit. And I'd say, okay. But this is, and I think that I do think, if it had been me, I would have said, there were a couple times when he got into fights with reporters. Okay. And he would say, listen, what, we passed all this shit and we got the lowest inflation in the world. It's bad, but it was either that or we had a recession. Would you rather have inflation and no job? So I think that when he would argue with reporters, they would bombard him, and that would scare his advisors, and they would tell him to quit doing that. Well, I think he should have done that more.
Tommy, here's where you and I disagree, and we agree on this. Joe Biden led us out of the strongest post-COVID economic recovery in the industrialized world. But by the time he was running for re-election, most of America thought the economy sucked. So how did that happen? It was utterly untrue. I blame Biden mostly for that because he had the bully pulpit. I think he was too old to communicate. You would blame the media for a lot of that.
Yeah, because you know what? The media had the bully pulpit. There's one Joe Biden. Every reporter, all they did was say, yeah, well, what about inflation? Yeah, well, what about inflation? Yeah, well, what about inflation? Inflation, blah, 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 blah. I mean, and they knew the answer. The answer was COVID caused inflation. Supply chains caused inflation. Yes, the Recovery Act caused some inflation, but without it, nobody would have a fucking job.
You know what I wish he'd done, Tommy? You know what and I said this publicly on CNN everywhere. When Biden first got elected, right after he was sworn in, he should have had a fireside chat and he should have sat the country down and said, hey, gang, here's the fucking deal. We're coming out of a once in a lifetime pandemic. This is going to be a bumpy road the next 3 to 4 years. This is how it's going to look, but we're in this together. This is what we're going to do. I wish he had presented that to the American people so the American people understood post-COVID expectations. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's an unreasonable thing, but I do think that it's sort of Pollyannish to think that the media would have allowed that. And not, I mean, they would have called it Jimmy Carter's Malaise speech part 2,
Look at how,
and destroyed
Tommy,
him over it.
look at how fucking Trump dictates what the media does. He dictates every day
Yes.
what the media is. Biden could have done that.
Well, there's two reasons why it doesn't work. Joe Biden is a Democrat. Okay, Democrats are judged by a different set of rules. Okay, so that's one.
By the way, that's got to fucking change.
The other thing is
that's got to change.
Right. Yes, definitely. And that's sort of like my life's mission. But the other thing is, I think that the one thing Trump gets right is he succeeds in going past the media. I think he does it in a way that's extremely damaging. I think it's very damaging to say that the media is the enemy of the people. He does it by lying. But I think, I think what happened with Biden is when he would fight with reporters, they would say, "Oh, well, you're being like Trump." No, I'm being like a guy who doesn't lie, who's being treated like that. Okay, so there's a big fucking difference. And I think if he had kept hammering that, because that's what works, man. Trump succeeds by just repeating shit over and over again.
Yes,
the shit he repeats is wrong, racist, and crazy.
Bingo.
Okay, you get a guy like Joe Biden that would repeat things and say, "Listen, you guys aren't talking about how if it wasn't for me, we would have had a depression." Like if he'd have said that for 4 years, I think that message might have gotten through.
Yeah, look, Tommy, I was Mr. Tea Party out there campaigning for Kamala every day for 3 months. I really grew to like her. I don't blame her a lot for the loss. I think she was given a tough hand. I think she did as well as she could. She made some big mistakes.
I agree. I agree for the most part. I don't think that. I also wanted to address your point about her not distancing herself. I think that reporting gets twisted because people don't like Joe Biden, or that it's not cool to like Joe Biden. But I think what he was telling her was, don't succumb to the temptation to run away from our accomplishments. I think that was what he meant, and I think he believed it. But look, I do think that she did nothing about on the trans issue, and I think the trans issue was a huge deal, a huge part of why she lost. And
huge.
I don't know the reason I don't blame her too much, because I don't know how effective she would have been at countering it anyway. But I do think that I think you're right. People like a fighter, and I think if she had fought and said, it might have helped.
Fucking A, Tommy. If I were Biden's vice president and he stepped down and I were the nominee, I would have gone on fucking the Joe Rogan show the next day. I would have sat down with Tucker Carlson. I would have gone on with Hannity. I would have gone everywhere and just gotten into them. They protected her and they didn't let her do any of that shit.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. Although I think the Rogan thing ended up being that they screwed her over. But I think you take your broader point. I think Democrats in general, I think they were too cautious with Biden. I think they should have let Biden.
Bingo.
Because he liked talking to the press and he would do it. Jen Psaki used to talk about all the gaggles he did, but they wouldn't put him out for press conferences. And I don't know why they, I think that was a mistake.
I agree. I agree. Because the way it happened, Tommy, a lot of voters then said, well, yeah, Trump tried to overthrow the election. He's a threat to democracy. But Joe, look what the Democrats are doing. They didn't even have a primary. Like, I would get all of that shit from voters because of the way it went down.
Yeah. But I mean, you agree with me that there was no way that they were going to win with anybody but Kamala Harris. There's no way.
I'll make one technicality. I agree with you. By the time the debate happened and then Biden stepped down, he had to bear hug Kamala and she was the candidate. I'm saying if Biden had stepped down in 22 or said I'm not running in 22, and said, I wholeheartedly endorse my vice president. Democrats have a 2-year primary. I don't, if a white male candidate came out of that and ran the best campaign, I don't think that would have been a bad thing either.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean,
I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
in terms of what's fair and what's not fair, you're probably right. But I think practically speaking, I don't think you get the black turnout that you need. I think a lot of black people would resent her being passed over, and I don't see how you blame them for that. So, but anyway,
I agree with a
like I
lot of
said, well,
that.
if ifs and buts were crackers and nuts, I don't know what the fuck that expression is, but
But you know what, Tommy?
you know what?
Last thing I'll say, this is why this is an important topic, because that
Yes.
son of a bitch, a fascist, is in the White House. And what we Democrats did helped a little bit, and what the media did in contributing to that. That's why this is an important issue, because fucking Trump's in the White House and look at the damage he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So listen, I feel like shit because I had planned to ask you all about your background, and but we're running kind of long here, and I want to get to a couple of other like more current things, but
Yeah,
we're gonna have to talk again because you're a fascinating guy.
Tommy, I'd love it
Um,
anytime.
but I wanted to, I'm sure that you have feelings about the way that Trump reacted to Robert Mueller
Mhm.
passing away over the weekend. And I wrote a piece today about how this happened on Saturday, and he has taken about 86 questions from the press since then, and has not been asked once about it. So I want to know what your reaction is, first of all, to what Trump did, and then to the way it's been treated.
I'll take the second one first. You said it about 30 minutes ago. The fucking media, Tommy, the fucking media has normalized this guy and over the years, and shame on them. He lies 1,000 times a day, and we don't even cover his lies anymore. What when he says outrageous, hideous stuff like that, it's like they don't really focus on it. That's all he should be asked about. It was a media article. I got pissed off at Chris Christie because Chris Christie said, Trump's acting like a child when he said that about Mueller. Fuck you, Chris Christie. A child doesn't say that. That's Chris Christie excusing his behavior. He's probably one of the worst human beings who's ever lived. He's certainly in the team photo. A sociopath responds the way Trump responded to Mueller's death. Don't call him a child. Children don't do that. But we've normalized this shit, Tommy. The media. Same thing with Rob
All right.
Reiner. Remember what he said about after Rob Reiner was killed?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that I don't actually. Now that you mentioned, I don't remember him getting confronted about that. Maybe he did, but I don't remember it.
No, he
I have
didn't.
to go back and look. That's interesting.
Again, you know this better than I do. It's like they're afraid to ask him these questions because they want access. I mean, he says just horrible shit to female reporters. Why doesn't
Yeah.
somebody in the White House press pool fucking get in his face and say, don't you dare call her Miss Piggy? Shut the fuck up.
No,
They're afraid.
I know, and I'll tell you why. I don't know if you know this about me, Joe, but I used to be in the rooms,
Yeah.
and I can tell you exactly and you're right, absolutely right, that they should have each other's backs. It's that uh, the problem is they need somebody else to do it. They won't do it themselves. In other words, like Caitlin Collins, a person who I deeply respect and admire, and who is constantly getting attacked by Trump, and who I think does the best job of any of them of sticking up for herself. But even
Yeah.
her, they don't want to become the story. Okay.
They have to, Tommy.
They should close ranks because when back when you were still done tried to exclude Major Garrett from
Yeah.
a round robin interview with some treasury official, and all of us flipped I think
Hey, Tommy, I'm losing you,
um,
brother. I'm
here's the
losing
other
you.
thing. Yeah.
Go ahead, continue. I lost a lot of that with
All
the
right.
connection, but go ahead, continue.
It's all right. Nobody wants to hear from me.
Oh, shut.
This is your show, man.
No,
All right.
no, no. But
Uh,
the gist of what you said, Tommy, was
is my battery low? All right.
they need to band together. They need to do it all together, right?
Yeah. Yes. That exactly. Yes. All right. Hopefully, this is not an ongoing deterioration, and I can ask you a few more questions because I did want to get your take on on some media questions because I want to be able to use some of this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we already got some good inside info about CNN. So, what about MS Now? So, tell me what you think about them and what you think about what's going on over there, and who do you think? Name some names for me. Who's doing a good job? Who's doing a lousy job? Anywhere, media. I mean, CNN, MS Now, Fox News. Go ahead.
Um, Again, I jumped on CNN, Tommy, but they're trying to do a difficult thing. They're trying to kind of maybe play in the middle. Fox does what it does. MS Now does what it does. They both do a great job doing what they do. CNN's trying something else. It's tough. That may change. I go on MS Now a lot. I love it. They're all true believers. I love Ali Velshi. I think he's one of the most fair, objective, tough journalists out there. I love him. I love Nicole Wallace. I go on with her a lot. We're kind of kindred spirits because we come from the same place. Um, I think generally they're all left of center, but they're all, I find, to be very fair of almost all viewpoints. Tommy, I haven't been on Fox News in probably 5 fucking years. And since I primaried Trump, they haven't had me on. They've been clear they don't want me on. So I don't know what the deal is with Fox. They're good at what they do.
All right. Well, I guess that's something, right?
Yeah,
So it sounds to me like what you're saying is
go ahead.
it sounds to me like you're saying you give CNN points for difficulty,
Oh,
and
I
I think
do.
that's
I
very.
really do.
I think that's very insightful. That's the thing. You know, a lot of people on our side resisting. You know, they sort of like to crap on CNN because you know whatever. I don't know. You know what the knocks are.
Tommy,
Why do they have
Tommy,
Scott Jennings on? You said it.
yeah, Tommy, every time I put out a post that I'm going to be on CNN, all of my leftist followers on every platform say, fucking A, Joe, I love you, but there's no fucking way I'm watching CNN. They think
Right.
CNN has become like a MAGA station, which is bullshit.
Right.
Maybe it will after this merger, but CNN tries to play it down the middle. I really believe that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that what they don't understand is because CNN does fuck up, and I call them out when I think that they fuck up. And but CNN should be protected, not destroyed. I think that
Yeah,
we should try and get CNN to do better. But you don't want to just because without CNN, what do we have? We have he said, she said. You
that's
know,
it.
CNN is trying to be seen as the referee, the down the middle, the credible authority. And without that, what do you get? You know, we see what we get. So
And,
I
and,
think that's a very good insight of yours.
And Tommy, you're right. Look, I used to go on News Nation a lot. They're not at the same level, but they said they were going to try to play that referee role. I think they're much more firmly on the right.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. All right, so um, let's try and wrap this up because it's getting close to dinner time. Um, well, we gotta have you on again, and so
Anytime,
I just
Mister.
so the thing that I when I knew I was going to have you on, the thing I really wanted to ask you about is that all the indictments against Trump, all of the first of all, it's my understanding that some of them could be brought back theoretically. So what is your take on that? Do you think that the next Democratic president should pursue that? Do you think that they will pursue that? Do you think Trump will ever see a jail cell?
No. Um, And I don't think the next Democratic House should impeach him. Or really, Tommy, what they should do, the next Democratic House, on day one after Jeffries is sworn in, just have a one-page bill of the 10 reasons why he should be impeached, vote to impeach him in 10 minutes, and then be done with it. That's all. And then get on and do the business. I hope Trump is held accountable for some things after his presidency. I fear that he won't. I think the fallback from the next Democratic president and the next Justice Department is they're going to hold Trump's people accountable. I think you're going to see Stephen Miller and Hegseth and Bondi, a lot of these people and RFK Jr. and Elon are going to be held accountable for the damage they've done. I don't see any Democratic president doing that to Trump.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I guess Trump could pardon all those folks, couldn't
He could. And by the way, he will. He will.
he? Yeah. Maybe we should keep this quiet.
But
Maybe he won't
but
think of
then
it, you know?
but then really the job is to fucking undo all his damage. If he builds a fucking ballroom, Tommy, I will not vote for a Democratic nominee who doesn't pledge to tear the ballroom down and restore the east wing of the White House.
Yeah.
A Democratic president has to undo every fucking thing he's done by executive order.
Yeah, and, you know, it's funny you should say that. We really do have to wrap up. I wanna say, this will honestly be the last sort of question slash diatribe because, I speak to a lot of guys on our side, and I have this fatalistic view because, you know, it's like, I'm glad that people are resisting. I'm glad that we flipped Mar-a-Lago or whatever, but also, the time to have done this was before this asshole got in office because
Yeah.
he's got the courts for at least a generation. He's got the Supreme Court. He's got a 6-3 Supreme Court, and he's got the all the federal judiciary. The damage is like so permanent, and so like even
Yeah.
if you vote like you know somehow we defeat this gerrymandering shit, but like what hope is there? I mean, they just gave him a get out of jail free pass. They said, "Hey, he's immune." It's crazy. So
So
what hope is there, Joe?
so Tommy, not a lot, maybe a little, because clearly, here's an honest answer. Clearly, the Democratic Party has not met this fucking moment. I mean, Trump was sworn in and they're trying to make nice with him. They were caught flat footed by what Trump has done and everything he's doing with ICE. Most Democrats, Chuck Schumer, Jeffries, the leadership, they haven't fucking met this moment while he's president. So there's very little to believe that if Democrats are back in power, they'll meet the moment. And meeting the moment back in when they're in power is to fucking go after these people and put people in jail and undo the damage and go after these people and even go after Trump. That's how you meet the moment. We talk about uniting the country again. We have to fucking defeat what MAGA and Trump is, and then we can unite the nation. A Democrat's got to feel that in their bones, and I don't know that they will.
Yeah, and stop saying working families.
Talk like Tommy Christopher and Joe Walsh fucking talk. Talk like that.
There you go. Thank you. All right, Joe. Well, Austin, I want to thank you, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Would love it, Tommy. Thanks, brother.
All righty.